Hello again. We're looking at the fourth part of this incredible verse in the Bible. 2 Chronicles chapter 7 verse 14. Let's just look at it again. If my people who are called by my name will humble themselves, will pray, will seek my face, will turn from the wicked ways, then I will hear from heaven, I will forgive their sin, and I will heal their land. Now it tells us in John chapter 16, Jesus said when the Holy Spirit comes that he will convict the world of sin, of righteousness, and of judgment to come. So we know that people feeling a terrible sense of sin is very much a part of what God does in a true revival. And this is exactly what happened on the Isle of Lewis during 1949-1952, that great revival. Even on the first night, when Duncan Campbell was preaching through till 3 o'clock in the morning, there was a dance that was taking place fairly locally. And there are many documented witnesses that tell us that as the prayer was going on in the church at Barvis, the dance floor in the local village hall emptied and people fled from this dance as though they were fleeing from a plague, and they got onto buses and they made their way to the church. Incredible things. On night 2, after that incredible beginning, people began to come from all over the island. And Lewis is a big island. Mandy, my wife, and I have been there. It's a big island, and they came from various villages on the buses. And again, it was documented by many witnesses that even on the buses, there was such a sense of the conviction of sin in the people's hearts that even before they came to church, many of them had already gotten converted. It was said that there was all kinds of strange groanings and sounds as Duncan Campbell preached. There were people around the sanctuary that were crying out, "Is there mercy for me? Is there mercy for me?" This was night 2. Now this went on for 5 weeks. It went on for a long time. And Duncan Campbell, on average, was preaching between 4 to 8 sermons every single day, sometimes meeting with people in the middle of fields at 4 o'clock, 3 o'clock in the morning, and by the seashore. Farmers wanting inviting him to come over and preach to people from that local community. It was incredible. But eventually, like all true revivals, it hit a resistance. And when this revival came to a village called Arnold, there was a big resistance towards it. And so Duncan Campbell gathered a group of people together in one of the village halls, and they began to pray that God would break through in this area. Now I want to read you a prayer that was prayed at this night when Duncan Campbell is such a humble man. He turned to one of the other leaders and he asked him to pray. And this is what he prayed. God, do you know that your honor is at stake? You promised to pour water on the thirsty and floods on the dry ground. And God, you are not doing it. There are 5 ministers in this meeting. I don't know where a one of them stands in your presence, not even Mr. Campbell. But if I know anything at all about my own heart, I think I can say, and I think you know, I stand before you as an empty vessel, that I'm thirsty, thirsting for thee, and thirsting for a manifestation of thy power. I'm thirsty to see the devil defeated in this parish in the county of Arnold. I'm thirsty to see this community gripped as you grip Barvis. I'm longing for revival, and God, you are not doing it. And I'm thirsty, and you promised to pour water on me. Then after a pause he said, God, your honor is at stake. I now take it upon myself to challenge you to fulfill your engagement. And with that, the granite house shook like a leaf, A jug on the sideboard fell onto the floor and broke. The dishes on the dresser rattled. Then, as Campbell testified, wave after wave of divine power swept through the room. At that exact moment, the Spirit of God swept through the village, and people were awakened from their sleep, got dressed, and made their way to the church, crying out to God for mercy. This is what happens when God's people follow his criteria. If my people who are called by my name will, number 1, humble themselves, will, number 2, pray, will, number 3, seek my face, will, number 4, turn from their wicked ways, God promises to hear from heaven, to forgive sin, and to heal their land. See you tomorrow.